Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to this right now, asking yourself, what do the questions of the universe hold? Then we must sadly tell you, we got nothing. Greetings and salutations, my psychedelic children, my beautiful souls, and welcome once again into this expose in the art of conversation, We Got Nothing. I am your host, Catalyst Jost, now coming at you from the Lone Star Wasteland of South Central Texas. Happy 2025, everybody. It's already been a crazy year. Here's a new guest for this episode. She is a comic book illustrator and writer, has her own webtoons and YouTube channel, and she has quite the affinity for gothic horror, including that of vampires. So please help me welcome one Miss Charlie Ragnarok. How do you do?
Hello. I do well. I am faring well. Thank you for asking. I guess what is our first question?
Well, my first question is, in light of recent news, how do you feel about the TikTok ban and how it may affect content creators such as yourself? Do you even use TikTok?
Not really. I'll be honest. I have definitely changed my social media strategy as of late. I would say probably since I don't know, maybe like a year ago. Short format content is something I kind of use in accessory to my primary stuff. It's not really something that I used primarily. And yeah, I also try, God, my addiction to Instagram needs to be studied, but I already scroll enough as it is. So I don't really use TikTok, to be honest, but I know for a lot of creators and content creators, it's just been a huge platform. It's really helped people reach others. So that's the bummer. I'm definitely feeling for people. I mean, some people have made a whole career on that platform, so I am really feeling for them.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that it's not anything permanent and something can be rearranged or anything like that. But at the same time, I've seen what is it? YouTube take the whole thing in stride too, because now they've been implementing shorts on their algorithm.
Yes.
There, and I doom scroll through that nonstop. I'm like, oh my god, I see why TikTok is so addicting and all that.
Oh, 100%, and that's kind of why I've avoided using TikTok, is because again, I already am addicted to the social media I have now. I don't really need another one. Yeah, I already kind of have the attention span of a goldfish at this point, so we don't need to make it worse. But speaking of YouTube, I do feel I actually was just talking to some friends about this, but just feeling like YouTube is a little bit better for artists. I just think that long form content lends itself more to the art making process, the I don't know, it's just something YouTube videos are something you tend to digest more slowly, and I feel that art is, it's not just content, right? Content can be bam bam bam, it's TikTok after TikTok or reel after reel, whereas I feel like an artwork is not really meant to be digested that way. And I think that's why a lot of artists really struggle with social media presence. I know that since I started putting more time into YouTube, I feel like that's just worked better for me. Yeah, that's kind of, I'm trying to shift more effort into that platform myself.
Gotcha. And I definitely want to talk more about the difference between content and art later on. But let's also start with you. So, how long have you been a comic book artist, and have you what has your career looked like so far?
Gosh, I've honestly been drawing comics for as long as I can remember. It's kind of funny though. I feel like in the course of my life I've kind of fallen in and out of like making them, but I have made them since I was a small child. So I don't know if there's really like a point in my life I ever like didn't do narrative media of that sort. If I wasn't like making comics, I was writing stories, so it was like, it's like a little bit of both. But yeah, so that's just something I've kind of always fallen back into my whole life. And yeah, so I guess career-wise, taking it a little more seriously, I did study art in college. I did, an illustration major. And then I've done client work. I've done work with lesser known comics. Yeah, so where I am now, I'm kind of trying to prioritize balancing the client work and also my personal projects. Yeah, and just making the art that I like want to make. So right now I'm trying, I would love to make art my full-time gig. We're getting there slowly, I hope.
I was about to
But
ask, like, how have like your creative endeavors fared for you financially so far? I mean, with art in general, like, you cannot expect to get paid. I mean, it'd be nice if you can make a monetary success off it, but you do it because you love the craft and expressing yourself creatively, you know?
yeah, I think for me, I kind of have joked for a long time that art is kind of like a compulsion for me, and if you're good at something, don't do it for free, right? So it's like I'm going to make art anyway. I might as well make money as a byproduct of the thing that I am making anyway. So I have definitely, I feel that also, like, the nature of the work that I do, you get paid very sporadically, so it's like you'll have like one big project or like one big contract here and then crickets for months. So I personally need to work on developing something more like more consistent. um it's kind of hard like transitioning between the full-time day job and then part-time art into like flipping that, so still navigating that.
Yeah, no, the struggle
um
is for real.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like I have definitely found like some commercial success, I guess, like small time. Um, like I said, I get client work, which is great. I work with a lot of romance authors. Love working with them. They're also creatives and they write, of course, stories. And a lot of comic book creation is bringing stories to life. So, it's a match made in heaven. But yeah.
Now, with the comic book industry, last year I had done an interview with a writing friend of mine, and he said the biggest thing when it comes to getting your art out there is to constantly advertise, even if it's like years old, like projects that are published. You got to keep advertising it so it stays like within the algorithm and all that stuff. What does that same like strategy or sentiment like apply to the comic book industry?
I feel like in general, we kind of are used to, I mean, it kind of all comes back to like social media, right? Like, where as a society, we're so used to like consuming media constantly that I think it's kind of weird. And I don't know if I really have the answer, but I feel like people maybe expect you to grind out, so many pages a week, or even, like I'm trying to get into Webtoon. I'm posting once a week, but, some of these artists are posting like a long chapter, like every week or two. So I think that social media, like lack of attention span, constant media consumption, it does make it hard for comic artists out here. Like, you have to work even faster than maybe like the previous age. Um, So I don't know if that answers your question,
Yeah,
but
you got to constantly pray and give sacrifices to the algo gods in order for.
pretty much it's hard. And yeah, I mean, I guess with advertising your previous work, like certainly, but yeah, I think also just I like to constantly make new things and like, keep it fresh. So
Mhm.
I don't really employ that strategy, but maybe I should. But also, I like posting to YouTube because I feel that your videos are evergreen. Like if it can still pop into someone's feed 10 years later. You know what I mean? It's not like Instagram or TikTok where it has to be like hot and now. It can be something that you made a while ago that is still viewable in the algorithm. So I do also feel that the YouTube algorithm is more fair. So if I was, for example, talking about a project of mine, I would not feel the need to keep advertising it because I've already made a video about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because with YouTube, the algorithm, it doesn't go off of what is really popular. It kind of molds around the
The
users.
individual
The
user, yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think, yeah, maybe for that reason, I haven't really felt the need to advertise in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it's also pretty hard if you go off of like Facebook or Instagram because usually the algorithm goes with what's trendy, and usually what's
Mm-hmm.
trendy is stuff like sports, fitness, sexuality. That's when real artists like you or Saturn don't get the proper amount of views or like what's the word am I looking for? The proper clout that your art deserves.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no. Sometimes that's the thing is like, it can be frustrating and I think a lot of artists struggle with like, oh, is my work good enough, right? And it's like social media does not help with that at all because you're like, I feel like I'm making really, really beautiful, like and intelligent, insightful work, and it's just not getting. It's like not getting in front of the people it needs to get in front of, and that can be really disheartening when you get no interaction on something. But it's just really important to remember that that site is not built for your content. So I think it's just kind of artists are just constantly trying to figure out like, where do I post this, like who do I talk to, like how do I you know
It's even harder when it comes to like feedback because if like I think comment sections are like the biggest feedback and those can be very toxic, but also
oh
you can't
yeah.
you can't tell nowadays what are bots and what are real people that have a shit opinion, and
Mm.
that's what makes it increasingly hard if you don't have like peers close by you to give you proper notes, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's why, mentioning peers, I think it's really important. Like, I know I found it really helpful when I was in college to be surrounded by like other artists, even if they were working on completely different projects than me. It's just kind of that, like, I don't know, it's just like a space to think and like bounce ideas off each other and like, you know, work together but also alone. And I have found it really helpful to join like Discord servers, because then I can, you can stream what you're drawing. You can have, other artists talk to you about, what you can maybe change or add or whatever. And I think it almost gives me that similar sensation of like being in the classroom, being around other artists and stuff. So
Yeah, no, and with Discord is highly underrated when it comes to getting those feedback loops that may be missing depending on your living environment or schedule, you know?
Yeah, like yeah, it's just cool too. Like I've made a lot of friends through, like I'll have one friend, they invite me to their Discord, and I make new friends, and then that's also just been, I think that's been really essential in, again, like finding good critique, but also expanding your viewership, because if I join a Discord that is full of comic fans and I can say, hey guys, like I have a comic too, then that's going to reach the audience that I'm like trying to reach more directly than I feel I've experienced on a platform like Instagram or other platforms.
Yes, no, and I found that it's a good way, because you meet some genuinely good people there, and
Yeah.
them being artists also, they also want to see you flourish, so they tend to share your content too, and I think because nowadays, especially us artists, we have to stick together 10,000%.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, like and yeah, it's just no one likes to. I don't know. It sounds very corporate, but network. You have to network.
You do have to
But
network. It's
it's
crazy.
you really do though, and it's like how are you gonna build your email list if you're not getting in touch with the people that want to consume the art that you make?
Yeah, no, and it makes it well, before I go off on that rant, you mentioned before lesser known comics. Dom Saturn, shout out to you, Sat, had mentioned several times about lesser known. What is it exactly? Is it an indie comic brand? And if so, does it specialize with a specific genres or tales?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely indie. There's a lot of diversity, but I think there's definitely a lean towards I don't know, maybe like darker themes. There's action, there's horror, there's like comedy. It's just like a little bit of everything, but I know it's kind of trying to be the place for people to get their start. I know that I've been really grateful for the experience to have my first Kickstarters and print runs and stuff through them, and it's a great resource for people who are maybe new to the indie comic scene and like don't really know how to get started with, they've never done a Kickstarter, they've never done crowdfunding, they've never done a print run. Sometimes, you know people, artists will not even know how to do standard formatting for something. So the company's kind of like morphed a little bit over time, which is fine. I just think my understanding is that a lot of it is meant to help artists go from, I don't know, I guess like zero to not 100 maybe, but like getting you, like being the springboard for you to reach new heights in your art career. And I
Hmm.
think that's really cool.
Because it's extremely difficult. Nowadays, not many people know much about how to get your feet wet in the industry, and
Yeah, it's
you.
hard. It's really hard, like when you're an artist and you maybe don't know all of the marketing and the this and the that, and yeah, like you said, it's really hard to kind of get your feet wet, like
It
initially.
it's not like you can just throw in an application or send a piece of art to Disney so you can get on Marvel. It doesn't work like that.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like it's kind of like a catch 22, because if you want to, let's say you want to work for like a big studio, well, how are you going to get their attention? How are if and then or even like any art group, it's like you want to have printed material to share with them. You want to show that you can, format and do things professionally. And it's like, how do I do that if maybe the upfront cost is too high for me, you know?
Precisely.
Or yeah, like there's a lot of barriers, I guess, is what my point is. There's like a lot of barriers to getting those like finished comics printed and getting those finished pieces that you can hand to someone, whether that is an art director or another artist at Artist Alley at the convention or whatever. Like, yeah, turning it into a physical product, there's a lot of barriers to entry on that. And I think that Lesser Known Comics does a lot to help people, learn those things and get into that, or even just getting on their print run. Maybe you want a small amount of your comic and, you pay your portion. We'll throw it on our big order so you get bulk pricing. Like, just like removing those barriers is very cool to me that they do that.
Yeah, no, and the thing is also networking, like you were saying before, because like there was one thing I learned when I was working in Orlando. There, it's more about like who you know and who likes you versus like if you're talented and if you
And
have
that's the T. That is the T. And,
yeah.
and honestly, and I hate to say it, but like I feel like that's any industry. Like I don't, unfortunately, like you do have to shake hands with the right people in order to get seen and heard really in any field. But I do feel that, especially in the arts, like, yeah, you have to meet someone who can, like, increase your reach, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it is unfortunate because well, I wouldn't say unfortunate. I would say it's more par for the course, like
It's just
but
like a reality that we live in. Like the
yeah.
reality that we live in. Like,
Now, when it comes to webtoons, I've heard Dom mention it a couple times. What exactly is that? I've never really investigated it.
yeah, so I'm kind of new to posting on Webtoon. Really, they are a platform where, and well, so they have like two different thing. My understanding is they have two different like sections. There's Webtoon Originals, which is sponsored by Webtoon, or like they're kind of like contracted with them, I guess. And those series are monetized and everything. Like, then there's Webtoon Canvas, where anybody can just like post their project, and they do have the potential to earn ad revenue or earn they have like a super like program. I'm not really sure how that works. I'm gonna be so for real. I'm kind of new to it, but long story short, it is a platform where you can just post your comic online.
Hmm.
Um, I know growing up in the early 2000s, I found so many obscure web comics and completely legally sourced manga scans that
Gotcha.
I would read all the time. And so yeah, so a lot of my early reading comics, especially indie comic experience, was just artists posting stuff on DeviantArt or on their personal website as a web comic. So yeah, it's kind of in the spirit of that. It's just like a comic hosting site for web-based comics.
Cool. No, that sounds pretty dope. One thing going back to YouTube, I also like to. There's this new thing called. Well, I wouldn't say new. It's called animatics. Basically, it's kind of like your comic book or manga, like kind of rolling in like a movie format, almost like a motion kind of deal. Like I actually peeped one on some of the latest chapters of One Piece, where like they have the manga going on, but there's like action with it, like the way it moves. It's a
Okay, yeah. No, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
it's a very unique editing style, but like it's perfect, and I think stuff like that would really get huge following in the future if it doesn't already.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of different. platforms for posting comics online. So I mean, Webtoon is like famous for like the scroll format. um my brain turns off when I try to do that for some reason. I'm just very like traditionally trained for book printing, so like I format everything for book printing. um but Webtoon, they artists tend to do the scroll format, which is great for reading on a phone, for example.
Mhm.
But there's lots of other platforms. So there's like Tapas, which is there's like Tapas. There's Global Comics. There's there's like a few. There's like quite a few. But yeah, I don't know. Webtoon is definitely one of the bigger ones. So yeah.
Now, with your content, with your art, tell me, is there any ways to like get it physically? Because like I know, well, I'm kind of speaking for myself here, but like if the
Mm-hmm.
audience agrees with me, like I personally like to own what I consume. So like I love just reading the manga or the comic like in my hand, knowing that
Yeah,
it's there.
yeah. Yeah, so some of my work is available for print. I have a couple of things in the lesser known comics store. As far as the comic, I'm currently posting on Webtoon. It's not currently available for print. I do plan to eventually do like I don't know, maybe like a Kickstarter or something and get a print going. Also, when I have like more pages released, I would really like to have that printed. But as of right now, I just have a couple of things on the lesser known comic store. But yeah.
All right, bet. I've seen that your a lot of your art is very vampiric and gothic in nature. What inspired you to gravitate towards more of the horror field? And if you have any more, what is it, diversive muses, like you draw or write about other things? What are
Yeah, yeah. I just my neurodivergent hyperfixation is vampires.
they?
So I have that going for me. Also, I know it's funny actually. Looking when I look back at my art, sometimes you're too like in it, and then you don't really like take a step back and like look at your body of work. But I was raised Catholic, and I feel like that, and I also studied a lot of Catholic art. I almost minored in art history in college. Fun fact: I was one class away from minoring in art history, but so I studied a lot of like Catholic art and Christian art, and I think that has definitely inspired me a lot.
Mhm.
Feel how you want to feel about the church, but man, did they pop off with the aesthetic. Like, just really popped
they
off.
knew
Like,
they knew how to catch people's eyes. That's for sure.
they really did. So yeah, that definitely has inspired me a lot. And yeah, like I've just always been I was a very morbid child. Um, just like when other girls were like dressing up their Barbie dolls, I was like popping off their heads and like swapping their bodies like Frankenstein dolls. So like I've just always been like a very morbid child. Honestly, shout out to my parents. Thanks for not throwing the whole kid away because like I was really creepy. But like I don't. I'm just. That's just who I am. I don't really know where
You were the
exactly it comes
Wednesday
from.
Adams of your family.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's like a lot. I guess I guess my family is like kind of like creepy. I guess we're the Adams family. I don't know, but I definitely am like the goth of my family. So yeah,
Hey, there's nothing wrong with goth. We encourage and support goths on this channel.
yeah. I also am just really inspired by like gothic subculture, and I love the music. And yeah, just I guess like not. I think what I admire a lot about like gothic literature and just that whole subculture is like not being afraid to be your whole self, darkness included, right? Like the things that maybe other people reject, you accept that about yourself.
Well, it's funny you say
Yeah.
that. So I did a couple episodes ago. I did this podcast where I talked with my guests about the idea of enjoying, being able to enjoy stuff like horror films, heavy metal, Dungeons and Dragons, and could you
Yeah.
still keep faith if you're devoutly religious in any aspect? And what I found was. That especially if you're into that particular spiritual belief, it's important to recognize that we all have a bit of darkness in us. And what we came down to was like if you actively repress that darkness and don't give it time, if you don't healthily exercise it, it can come back in very terrifying ways and can also
Oh,
stunt a lot of
100%.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to like shake hands with your demons sometimes. Like you have to like accept that that is a part of you, and like you can you can learn from those things, and you can grow from those things, or you can let them control you. And like I believe, again, like back to like gothic literature and everything, is like it can be really scary to face certain aspects of yourself, or especially things that you don't like, things that scare you, things that just, again, they end up in the darkness, right? They end up in swept under the rug. And it's like, no, like you need to, if you're going to be whole and you're going to be truly yourself, yeah, you have to like deal with those things and bring them like to light.
And there is no light without shadow. And
Period.
it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We live in a society where, I mean, I think it's gotten much better with acceptance in a lot of aspects, but there's still a lot of criticism on uh, there is an unbelievable edict, almost a command to repress shadow and whatnot, instead of finding out how to properly implement it in society and in a healthy way. And
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, no, and it's just disappointing because you don't feel like you were saying before. You don't feel free. You don't feel like 1,000% yourself. You feel like you're wrong, that you're bad, and that's just no way to go about it. That's no way to live.
Oh yeah. I mean, even to bring like the spirituality aspect back to it, it's like, there's that saying, the saints are the sinners that kept trying. Like you aren't, like, literally no one on earth is perfect. Like you have to keep acknowledging and keep trying, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, nobody's perfect, and each day, all we can do is just be a little bit better than we were yesterday. And if we stumble, it is what it is. Um,
It is what it is.
it,
Real.
and speaking of stumbling, I feel that our own industry, the art industry in general, has stumbled a little bit here and there. You were saying before about content. It's so interesting. One of my friends there, shout out to Patrick Hayes there, who wrote the book "Oh Shit, They're Killing People." He left a good comment under this Instagram reel. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was talking about the difference between art and content, and pretty much calling out AI art. Now, I constantly make my opinions known about this. I think AI is a great tool, great for technology, mathematics, medical research, defense capabilities. And to a certain extent, it can be useful when it comes to art. But in the past year and a half, seeing how it has completely changed the game for a lot of artists, of varying degrees, it's very concerning and whatnot. because what I have always said is art is the fingerprint of the soul. And AI is a machine, therefore it has no soul, and its main focus is generating content instead of generating artistic works and projects that touch you emotionally and spiritually.
AI cannot generate art without like absorbing existing art. I think that's a huge problem, is like the stealing frankly from existing artworks, and then just chopping it up and spitting it back out again. So like that's definitely a problem. I feel that using AI for maybe like idea generation is like what is one thing, but ultimately, yeah, like if you're going to create something with soul, like it's not gonna come from the machine.
I try not to get like so heated because like I see some friends on the Instaverse and the Facebookverse use it for for fun, like to fuck with their profile picture, or sometimes they'll type in jokes into Chat GPT and whatnot. But it just makes me cringe because you know local artists in your area. Like, why not ask them to do something for you? Like,
Yeah, and I mean, I know, like it's all about money. I was a bit heartbroken. Someone I was following was like, "Oh, well, I can't afford, a human artist, so I'm going to use AI to make my book covers." And I was like, "Okay, like that's your decision, that's your prerogative." But she was upset that she was getting so much backlash, and I was like, okay, but like
yeah,
do what you're gonna do, but like you're not like free from judgment for using a program that actively steals artwork from professional artists, from not paying someone for their time and their labor, right? You're like, oh well, I'll just use this thing because it's cheaper. And like, it's at the end of the day, it is all about money, unfortunately.
it is.
But
Yeah, no,
like, yeah,
going off of what you just described, it's kind of like going to a restaurant, eating there, and not giving a tip.
it frustrated me a lot. Like, just I don't know. I guess the word was like entitlement, right? Like,
Oh,
it really just
10,000%, it's
the
entitlement.
way that the post was worded, it felt like I am entitled to a free book cover. I am entitled to beautiful artwork I did nothing to create.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no,
that is what irked me.
yeah, no, and I made a post about it, about Patrick's comment on that Instagram reel. And one of my friends had made the argument, well, like, given the perspective that that would mean like real art, like ones created by humans, would be more would increase in value. Which I see where he's coming from, because there are still people like take for example a cobbler, someone who personally makes
Sure,
shoes
like
and
a
whatnot.
handmade item, of course, is going to be of higher quality and of, higher value than something that's maybe mass produced. But
But still, though, like the thing, it still doesn't negate the fact that like the artistic works generated through AI, the artists that make them are not being given due credit, and it's very sad. And unfortunately, there's doesn't seem to look like to be any real laws to get ahead of the curve on it, and
oh
that's
yeah, I mean,
very.
I feel like we will be seeing a tidal wave of like copyright lawsuits and stuff. I think that I do think artists will adapt. I mean, I don't like. I do think there's a lot of fear mongering about the whole thing. And don't get me wrong, like a lot of the concerns are valid, but at the same time, I just feel that artists and technology will adapt around it,
Mhm.
But it is very frustrating though right now. These are definitely, oh, this is a weird transitionary period for sure.
What gets me messed up is the fact that this also brings out a lot of trolls and rage baiters that are like, "Oh, you're just sad because you're not special anymore." It's like, bro, you don't even know what like it takes to put that a part of yourself into that creative expression in any format. And you're probably just sitting there on the computer, in your mom's basement with leftover Cheetos on your face and whatnot. Like, don't tell me about. And we don't do it to feel special. We do it because it's our way of making our perspectives known to the world. So, like, how dare you make that assumption? Get that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, the internet is unfortunately full of trolls. But like also, I mean that again, yeah, like you said, I don't do it to like be special. I do it to, I mean, I think the primary function of art is to communicate, especially like something like the medium of comic books is like communicating a narrative, communicating, some, just like any writing, some sort of, maybe it's a moral lesson, or maybe it's a theme, or maybe it's just a meditation on a feeling, whatever it is. You are communicating something incorporeal through a visual medium. And I don't know if technology can ever replace that. I don't know if it can ever replace the human touch.
Yeah, 10,000%. You're right. Because I mean, you can look at different works of AI that have popped up, and you can still sense, like, even if it's pristine, almost flawless, you can like, it's almost like a spiritual thing. Like, you get
Oh,
that
I
sense in your.
completely agree with that. I really genuinely feel like, and people might be like, oh, that's like woo woo, that's like witchy, that's like not, like, that's not real. Okay, say what you want to say, but like, what painting was it? Hold on, I'm gonna look this up right now. I think it was a Rothko painting that I saw in person.
Mm.
Yeah, okay, it was totally a Rothko. So I saw a Rothko painting in person, and it's funny because this really just made me feel that like spiritual energy. It's very hard to describe, but a lot of his most famous work is just like blobs of color, and when you see it on a screen, I'm not gonna lie, they seem a little unimpressive. But I studied Rothko in school, and then went and observed one in real life, and seeing it in real life was honestly like weird. Like it literally like radiated, just, it was like it was alive even though it was just colors. Like, it's very hard to describe, but I really do feel that artists are spiritual creatures, whether they believe in that or not, and that they do imbue their work with spiritual energy. So like I do believe that.
Well, you kind of do like there is a supernatural, otherworldly, like you said, incorporeal feel with it because it's kind of like the muse, whether you call it like the universe, God, what have you. Like you're essentially expressing the power that you gain from interacting with that spiritual source and
Yeah,
physically manifesting your vision through it, you know?
right. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, no, I hope I hope to the gods that that there will be some kind of that there's going to be a curve to implement some kind of limitations or guidelines and regulations with AI in the artverse going forward. That's all we can really do. And the other thing is also just keep creating and hope for the best.
Yeah, I agree. I think despair isn't really gonna fix the problem. So yeah, we have to we have to just keep creating. And yeah, like I said, I'm sure the technology will adapt. I'm sure that, I don't know, maybe there will be like a new, I don't know, a file type that will prevent AI from consuming it. I don't really know. I'm not a computer scientist, but like I can hope that, there will be some sort of like some way to protect your intellectual property better.
Maybe we can just have anonymous like hack the AI creators and be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, but yeah. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens. But
Now,
yeah, I will not despair. I will create.
you will keep create. Yes, I love that. I love that. Now, what current artworks are you? What current projects are you working on, and do you have any idea for any future projects? Snippets, little teaser trailer there.
Yeah. So right now, I kind of just wrapped up creating I guess it's the first. It's like the epilogue of my story, The Killer Kiss, which is on Webtoon now. Um, so I am posting one page per week for that. I've been writing the next part, so that's exciting. And honestly, I've really kind of fallen back in love with the process. I started using Clip Studio Paint, not
Hmm.
sponsored, but hit me up. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I started using Clip Studio Paint, which has it's just really built for comic making, and like it's helped me really just kind of fall back in love with the process again. So I've just been working lately on my personal project. So that's been really exciting, and it's just something that it's just like a story I really want out there. I don't really care. And
Hmm.
again, it's my personal project. I would love for it to get monetized one day and like to bring in an audience, but I really feel like it is just like my personal project is just something that I want out there regardless of that. And then hopefully later this year, there's some client work that is still in production that I can't really like talk about, but I do have some client work that I am working on that will hopefully some of it will be like released this year. So that's exciting. Um,
Okay.
but yeah.
Nice, nice. And finally, one more thing. What would be your advice to someone trying to get their foot in the door in the comic industry, be it illustration or writing or any of that nature?
Honestly, YouTube has been my best friend. I have learned, not only have I like learned so much from other artists on the platform, but I also feel that I see it as a viable platform for myself and my work and building my audience. So yeah, I would just say study, whether you go to a formal education or not, you do not need to do that. Like talking to like younger people, you can learn so much for free with, tutorials and, other professionals in the industry posting on YouTube. So I would just say consume as much information as you can. And yeah, I kind of wish that I had gotten into posting on YouTube sooner. That's probably what I would say. I'd say that's your best friend.
Well, folks, when it comes to the comic book art industry, when it comes to AI art, when it comes to YouTube, Instagram algorithms, and how they have an effect on the any sort of artist, flat out, folks, we got nothing. Charlie, it has been an extreme pleasure. Thank you so much. I feel like we really got a more in-depth look on not just how to get your artistic view out there, but like also just learning more about the advertisement and definitely a few different platforms you can post on there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. It was a delight.
And how would you like the users to follow you?
Yeah, so I am Charlie Ragnarok on pretty much everything. Yeah, read my comic, The Killer Kiss, on Webtoon. Follow my YouTube and Instagram, which is just Charlie Ragnarok. That's where I'm most active lately, so yeah.
Yeah, and your Instagram has a link tree, so that can be
Yes,
useful.
that too.
Yes, that
Exactly.
too. And if you would like to see what Life on Saturn Productions has going on in the future, please follow Life on Saturn Comics on Instagram and YouTube. And if you would also like to see what I personally provide in terms of content, please follow me at Catalyst Jost. That is CATALY 5TJ05T. And with all that being said, folks, please keep your vibes dope, keep your Zen flowing, and as always, peace.